Ethan walked through the crowded station with tired eyes and an empty stomach. The colony was alive with noise, filled with merchants shouting, engines roaring, and strange scents drifting from alien stalls. He carried nothing but a small pack, and a restless hope that somewhere on this world he could find work. Days of searching had given him nothing but rejection. Every alien trader he spoke with shook their heads and waved him away. Humans were not wanted here, at least not in most places. Yet whispers carried through the station like smoke, whispers of a job that paid in real food and heavy coins, a job offered by a powerful landowner in the outer lands. They said it was simple, that it was only plowing fields and working the soil. Ethan had farmed once in his younger years. The thought of honest work for honest pay sounded almost too good to be true, and perhaps it was. At the edge of the station, Ethan saw a tall alien recruiter. His skin shimmered like bronze metal, and his eyes were thin slits, glowing faint green. He stood behind a table with a parchment nailed to wood, written in several tongues. "Humans welcome," it said. "Strong arms needed. Reward guaranteed." Ethan stepped closer. His stomach growled and his throat felt dry, but he pushed himself to speak. "What kind of work is it?" he asked. The alien smiled, and the smile unsettled him. It was not warm. It was too wide, too sharp, filled with teeth that caught the station's light. "Simple work," the recruiter said in broken English. "Fields need plowing. Soil needs breaking. You are strong, human. You will eat well." Ethan's heart leaped. Food and pay. Shelter, perhaps. But the recruiter's eyes never left his face, studying him in silence before nodding. "Yes, you will do." The words made Ethan pause. He glanced around and noticed something strange. Other travelers were watching from the shadows, but none dared come near. A group of alien merchants turned their backs when they saw Ethan reading the parchment. It was as if everyone knew something that he did not. Still, hunger pressed harder than suspicion. "When do I start?" he asked. "Now," the recruiter said, his voice like a hiss. He pulled out a small emblem carved from bone and pressed it into Ethan's hand. "This marks you as chosen. Keep it safe." The emblem was cold and heavy. Strange lines carved across it pulsed faintly, almost alive. Ethan wanted to ask about the symbol, but the recruiter had already turned away, calling to someone hidden in the shadows. A transport waited beyond the station gates, a long wagon pulled by machines with glowing cores. As Ethan climbed aboard, he felt the weight of many eyes. Some were filled with pity, others with fear. A merchant woman whispered under her breath as he passed, though he caught only fragments of her words. "Not fields. Not fields." Her warning clung to his mind like smoke he could not clear. The wagon rattled into motion, leaving the safety of the station. The landscape outside was harsh, red earth stretching into the distance, dotted with strange trees shaped like claws. The two suns beat down with merciless heat, and yet Ethan felt a chill under his skin. The recruiter sat across from him, silent now, only watching. Every time Ethan shifted, the alien's thin eyes followed. He could not bear the stare for long, so he turned to look out at the endless fields. In his mind, he imagined rows of soil, heavy tools, sweat on his brow. Hard work he could endure. He told himself it would be no worse than farming back on Earth. But doubt gnawed at him. If the job was so simple, why had no one else taken it? Why had those merchants turned away? Why had that woman whispered a warning? Hours passed. The wagon finally crested a hill, and Ethan saw the farm below. His breath caught. It was vast, far larger than anything he had ever imagined. Fields stretched wide, but no plows cut through them. Instead, tall alien women moved slowly between the rows, their figures striking against the horizon. Their eyes lifted together as the wagon approached, and each gaze locked onto him. Not on the recruiter, not on the machines, but only on Ethan. Something heavy settled in his chest. He could not explain it, but he felt as if he had just stepped into a cage without doors. The recruiter's smile returned, sharper than before. "You see," he said softly, "the fields wait for you." Ethan gripped the strange bone emblem in his hand, feeling its cold pulse. His stomach twisted. This was no ordinary job. This was something else, something hidden beneath the surface. He wanted to ask, to demand the truth, but his voice caught in his throat. The women's eyes never left him, silent, waiting, expectant. For the first time since he heard of the job, Ethan wished he had kept walking. The wagon rolled down the hill and into the valley. Dust rose in the hot wind, carried across strange crops that shimmered with silver leaves under the twin suns. Ethan leaned forward, expecting to see tools, barns, and tired workers. But what he saw made his chest tighten. There were no plows, no carts, no human hands breaking soil. Instead, tall alien women walked between the rows, their movements graceful like flowing water. They were unlike any women Ethan had ever seen. Their skin carried faint markings that glowed with each step, their hair long and colored like burning copper or deep night, and their eyes followed him with quiet intensity. The wagon stopped near a large structure made of stone and metal, a hall that stood like a fortress in the center of the fields. The recruiter gestured for him to step down. Ethan's boots touched the soil, and the ground felt strange beneath him, soft yet humming faintly, as though alive. The women in the fields turned silently and began drifting closer. Their steps made no sound. Ethan swallowed hard. He had come, expecting tired farmers, yet the eyes fixed on him were not those of workers but of witnesses. They studied his face, his arms, even the way he breathed. The recruiter led him toward the great hall. Its doors opened wide as they approached, revealing a high-ceilinged chamber lit by crystals embedded in the walls. Inside stood the landowner. He was larger than the recruiter, broad-shouldered, with golden ornaments coiled around his scaled arms. His voice rumbled like stone as he greeted Ethan. "So this is the human," the landowner said, his tone both amused and approving. "Strong, young, and desperate. Good. Very good." Ethan straightened. "I came for work. I was told you need fields plowed. I can do that. I've worked land before." The landowner's smile was unsettling. "Yes, you will plow, but not in the way you imagine." He raised his hand, and the women who had gathered outside stepped into the hall, forming a silent circle around Ethan. Their eyes glowed softly, filled with something he could not name. Hope, hunger, or maybe expectation. Ethan felt heat rising in his chest. He turned back to the landowner. "I don't understand. What are you asking me to do?" The alien's voice echoed through the hall. "Humans have always been useful, not just for strength, for survival itself. Our soil does not need you. Our women do." The words sank into Ethan like ice. He blinked, sure he had misheard, but the faces around him told him otherwise. The women did not laugh, did not deny it. They watched in silence, their glowing eyes waiting for his reaction. He shook his head. "That's not what I came for. I thought this was about farming." The recruiter hissed a laugh. "It is farming in a way. We plant through you. We grow through you. You are seed, human, and our women are the soil." Ethan staggered back a step, his hand tightening on the bone emblem still in his pocket. He wanted to throw it down to turn and run, but guards stood at the far end of the hall, tall, armored, and armed with curved weapons. Escape was not simple. The landowner stepped closer. His scaled hand rested heavy on Ethan's shoulder. "Do not fear. You are honored. Few humans are chosen. Our clan is fading. We need your kind. Without you, our bloodline dies. With you, it continues." Ethan's stomach twisted. He had come here with hope for food and shelter, yet he was staring into a demand far beyond survival. The women drew closer now, their faces unreadable, their breaths slow, their presence overwhelming. One of them, taller than the rest, stepped forward. Her hair was dark as midnight and her markings glowed silver. She reached out, her hand hovering just above his chest. "You are strong," she said softly. Her voice was smooth, carrying weight like an oath. "Do not fear us. We do not see you as a slave. We see you as a savior." The word echoed inside him. Savior. He wanted to believe it, but the pressure of so many eyes, the heavy silence of the hall made his heart pound with dread. The landowner raised his hand and the circle of women parted. Tonight he will begin, the alien declared. Prepare the chamber. Ethan's breath caught. Tonight. Already. His mind spun. He had thought he would push a plow, feel soil under his nails, sweat under the suns. Instead, he was caught. In a ritual he never agreed to. His choices seemed to vanish as quickly as the daylight outside. The women began to move, flowing out of the hall like a tide, but each one brushed past him, their eyes holding his for a heartbeat, as if measuring him, weighing him. Some looked hopeful, others serious, and one or two carried faint sadness as though they pitied him. When the hall finally emptied, Ethan stood alone before the landowner. The golden ornaments glimmered as the alien leaned closer, his voice low and final. You thought you came here to plow fields, human. You will soon learn the truth. And once you begin, there is no turning back. The heavy doors closed behind Ethan with a thunderous sound, sealing him inside this new reality. The hall stayed heavy with silence after the landowner's words. Ethan's heart thudded in his chest as two guards approached from the far end. Their armor was dark bronze, their faces hidden behind masks carved with sharp ridges. Without a word, they gestured for him to follow. Ethan had no choice. He moved with stiff steps, his hands clenched tight, the strange bone emblem still in his pocket. The guards led him through long corridors lit by glowing crystals. The walls were carved stone mixed with metal veins that pulsed faintly like a living thing. Every step echoed as if the hall itself listened. Ethan's thoughts tumbled. He had come for work, and instead he was being dragged into something he did not understand. At last they reached a smaller chamber. The doors opened, wide, and Ethan froze. Inside, a group of alien women waited. They stood in a circle, silent and watching. Their features shimmered in the soft crystal light. Tall, elegant, their markings glowing in patterns that shifted like moving stars. Each pair of eyes locked on him, as if they had been waiting for this exact moment. One woman stepped forward. She was different from the rest, slender yet strong, her silver markings brighter than the others. Her hair spilled like molten metal down her shoulders. She stopped only a step away from him and lifted her hand. With a calm, steady voice, she said, "You are not here to plow soil, human. You are here to plow us." The word struck him like a blow. Ethan blinked, his mouth dry. "What are you saying?" he asked, his voice cracking. The women did not laugh, did not mock. They simply looked at him, their gazes deep and heavy with expectation. The one before him lowered her hand but did not step back. "Our people are fading," she said. "The land grows rich, yet our blood grows thin. Humans were chosen long ago. You are the one who must continue what began." Ethan's chest tightened. He shook his head. "I came here for honest work, for food, for shelter. This is not what I agreed to." The women exchanged glances, a silent conversation passing between them. Then another stepped forward. She was younger, her markings faint but her eyes wide with hope. Her voice trembled slightly. "We do not see you as a tool. We see you as the seed of survival. Without you, our children will vanish. With you, we live." The weight of her words crushed Ethan. He looked around, desperate for a way out, but the guards blocked the door, their spears crossed. The chamber felt like a trap. His breaths came faster, each one louder in the silence. He pressed, the emblem tighter in his hand. Its surface was cold, almost alive, pulsing against his skin. He wanted to throw it down, yet it felt fused to him, as if it had chosen him as much as they had. The first woman stepped even closer. Her eyes glowed brighter now, her voice low. "You were not brought here by chance. You were called. You belong to this place now." Ethan flinched. "I don't belong here. I'm just a man trying to survive." Her lips curved in a faint smile that held no humor, only certainty. "Survival is exactly why you are here. A shiver ran through him. His stomach churned as the women began to move, forming a tighter circle around him. Their steps were soundless, their presence overwhelming. The air grew thick, filled with strange scents. Spice, smoke, something sweet yet sharp. Ethan's knees felt weak. One by one, the women reached out to touch him, not roughly but gently. A brush of fingers against his arm, a hand grazing his shoulder, a touch lingering near his chest. Each contact sent a spark through his skin. His body reacted with confusion, part fear, part heat, part something he did not want to admit. The silver-marked woman placed her hand fully against his chest now, her palm warm. "Tonight you begin," she whispered. "Do not fear us. Fear only what happens if you refuse." Her words sank deep. Ethan's mind screamed to resist, but the weight of the guard's presence, the circle of glowing eyes, and the strange power of the emblem pressed him down. He was caught between hunger, survival, and something darker. The doors opened again, and the landowner entered. His scaled body shimmered under the crystal light, his ornaments rattling as he walked. He looked at Ethan and the women, satisfaction glinting in his eyes. "Good," he said. "He understands now. The human has been told. There is no need for more delay." Ethan's breath caught. No delay. His chest tightened as the reality sank in. This was no misunderstanding. This was his purpose here, and they expected him to accept it. The landowner raised his arm, pointing to a passage beyond the chamber. "Take him to the Chamber of Union," he commanded. The women stepped back, opening a path, but their eyes never left Ethan. He felt their stares pressing into his skin as the guards motioned him forward. Each step toward the passage felt like walking into a storm he could not escape. His fists clenched, his body tense, yet deep inside he knew the truth. Whatever this place was, whatever ritual they planned, his life had already changed. Ethan entered the passage, the heavy doors closing, behind him with a sound that echoed like fate sealing shut. The corridor felt endless as Ethan followed the guards deeper into the fortress. His footsteps echoed against stone, and the glow of crystals lit his path like cold stars. The emblem in his hand pressed hard against his palm, its pulsing rhythm, almost mocking. He had been chosen not for farming, not for work, but for something far stranger, and his mind reeled at the thought. At last they reached a small chamber, its walls smooth and round like the inside of a shell. A faint scent of burning herbs filled the air. The guard stepped back, leaving Ethan alone. He stood still, his breathing heavy, his chest tight. His thoughts spun faster than he could catch them. He had wanted food, shelter, a chance to start again. Instead, he had walked straight into a snare. The alien landowner's words still echoed in his mind. "Our soil does not need you. Our women do." The women's eyes had burned into him, heavy with need, heavy with expectation. The first touch on his chest still lingered like heat he could not shake. Ethan closed his eyes for a moment, trying to calm himself. Running was impossible. Guards lined every corridor. And even if he escaped the fortress, the alien farm stretched for miles with no safe place to hide. Survival meant staying, but staying meant surrendering to something he could not accept. The door opened softly. One of the women stepped in, the same one with silver markings who had spoken first. She carried a vessel of glowing water and set it on a low table. The light filled the chamber, casting her face in gentle blue. She looked at Ethan without fear, her eyes calm but steady. "You are troubled," she said. Her voice was soft, almost soothing. Ethan clenched his fists. "Of course I'm troubled. I was lied to. I came here to work fields. Now you say I am here for you. I never agreed to this." She tilted her head, studying him. "Do you think we asked for this easily? Do you think we chose without pain? We are bound by law older than both our worlds. When our blood weakens, a human is brought. It has always been so." Her words sent a chill through him. "And what if I refuse?" She did not answer at first. Instead, she poured the glowing water into a small cup and placed it before him. "If you refuse, the clan suffers. The children of our line fade. Our people fall into silence, and you will not live to walk away. The law is stronger than your choice. The honesty in her tone hit harder than threats. She was not trying to trick him now. She was telling him the truth. He felt a strange ache in his chest. These women did not look like villains. They looked desperate. But that desperation chained him all the same. "I am just a man," Ethan said, his voice breaking. "I came here because I was starving, not because I wanted to be part of this." The woman stepped closer. Her silver markings shimmered softly, reflecting the glow of the water. She reached out but stopped just short of touching him. "Perhaps you were starving for more than food. Perhaps fate brought you here because you were empty, waiting to be filled." Her words cut deep. Ethan turned away, his jaw tight. Fate. Destiny. He had never believed in such things. Survival was about choices, about working hard, about refusing to give up. Yet here he was, stripped of choice, bound by forces he did not understand. The door opened again and another woman entered, younger, her eyes wide with both fear and hope. She carried cloths folded neatly in her arms. She set them down and spoke, quickly. "The chamber is prepared. Tonight it begins." Her voice trembled, but her eyes lingered on Ethan as if begging him not to fight. Ethan's chest heaved. He wanted to shout, to demand release, to tear down the walls. But the weight of their stares pressed him still. He was caught between fear and desire, anger and pity. Part of him wanted to run, part of him wanted to stay, and both choices felt like chains. The silver-marked woman moved closer again, her voice a whisper now. "You will not be harmed. You will be honored. But you must accept that your life is no longer your own." The words struck like iron. Ethan's heart pounded. He wanted to deny it, but deep inside he knew she was right. Whether he surrendered or resisted, his old life was already gone. The guards returned, stepping inside the chamber. Their presence left no doubt. There would be no escape. One of them raised his hand, signaling. It was time. Ethan looked at the silver-marked woman, then at the younger one, then back at the cold emblem in his palm. He felt the weight of the choice pressing down, heavier than chains, heavier than hunger. He was no longer free, yet something inside him whispered that freedom had never been the point. As the guards gestured for him to rise, Ethan's jaw tightened. His mind was torn, his heart caught between survival and surrender. Suspense hung in the air like a blade. He stepped forward into the unknown, knowing whatever awaited him would change him forever. The guards led Ethan through another passage, their heavy footsteps echoing against the stone walls. The air grew warmer, filled with the scent of herbs and something sharper, a fragrance that seemed to cling to his skin. He held the emblem tightly, the cold bone pressing into his palm as though it were the only anchor left in this strange place. At last they stopped before a pair of tall doors carved with symbols of vines and stars. One guard pushed them open and a soft glow spilled out. Ethan hesitated, his chest rising and falling with quick breaths, but the guards gestured sharply, leaving him no choice. He stepped inside, and the doors closed behind him with a deep, final sound. The chamber was vast yet quiet. Crystals burned along the walls, casting a gentle silver light. At the center stood a low bed of woven fabric and fur, surrounded by bowls of glowing water and vessels of fragrant smoke. The air felt heavy, almost sacred, and waiting there were the alien women. They moved forward slowly, their tall forms graceful, their markings glowing faintly in rhythm with their heartbeats. Their eyes fixed on Ethan, and he felt the weight of their silence pressing against him. No words were spoken at first, only the quiet sound of their breathing. One woman stepped closer, the one with silver markings who had first spoken to him. She lifted her hand, palm open. Her eyes searched his face with calm certainty. "Tonight begins your place among us," she said softly. "Do not resist what has already chosen you." Ethan's jaw tightened. His thoughts screamed to fight, to push them away, but his body felt rooted to the ground. The touch of their eyes, the heavy air, the strange pull of the emblem in his hand. Everything worked against his will. He took a step back, but another. Woman moved behind him, her presence gentle yet unyielding. The silver-marked woman reached out and touched his arm. Her hand was warm, her skin smooth, the glow of her markings brushing against him like firelight. Ethan flinched, but she did not pull away. "You fear us," she whispered. "Yet you must understand. We do not fear you. We honor you." The words struck deep. He wanted to deny them, but their faces showed no malice, only a desperate kind of hope. The younger woman stepped forward next, the one who had spoken of survival. She looked at Ethan with wide eyes, her voice trembling. "Our line is dying. Without you, we fall into silence. Do you want us to vanish?" Ethan's chest tightened. He felt trapped between hunger, morality, and something far greater. "I never asked for this," he said, his voice low. "I never wanted this." The younger woman's gaze did not waver. "Neither did we. Yet here we are." The silver-marked woman guided him toward the center of the chamber. The bed seemed less like furniture and more like an altar, a place of ritual and fate. Ethan resisted, but her grip was firm, and the circle of women around him closed tighter. Their whispers filled the air, low and rhythmic like a chant without words. He was made to sit, the emblem still clutched in his hand. The silver-marked woman placed her hand over his and pressed gently until his fingers loosened. She lifted the emblem, holding it high. The glow from the carvings spread brighter, filling the chamber with a pulse of light. The women bowed their heads as if in reverence. Ethan's skin prickled. The emblem was not just a symbol, it was part of the ritual, binding him to them in ways he could not understand. His chest rose and fell sharply, sweat running down his back. He felt like prey caught in a trap of silk and fire. The younger woman knelt before him, her eyes searching his with a pleading softness. "Do not hate us," she whispered. "Hate the fate that brought us here, but help us, or we are lost." Her words shook him. He could not bring himself to answer. His throat was tight, his mind torn between pity and fear. The silver-marked woman lowered the emblem and placed it against his chest, pressing it over his heart. "Tonight you join us," she said firmly. "You are no longer a wanderer. You are the seed of our survival." The chamber filled with the glow of the crystals and the hushed breaths of the women surrounding him. The walls seemed to close in, the air thick with heat and fragrance. Ethan felt his will bending under the weight of it all. His fists clenched, his heart raced, and every instinct screamed for escape. Yet deep inside, a quieter voice whispered that escape was no longer possible. As the women reached out again, surrounding him with touch and presence, Ethan realized the truth. The first night had begun, and with it, the path that would change him forever. Morning broke across the valley, and the twin suns rose over the alien farm. Their light spilled through narrow windows into Ethan's chamber, touching his face with warmth. He stirred slowly, his body heavy, his mind filled with fragments of the night before. He remembered the whispers, the touches, the emblem pressed against his heart. What had begun as terror had shifted into something he could not name. Ethan sat up, his hands trembling. The bone emblem still lay beside him, glowing faintly. It pulsed like a heartbeat, reminding him that his life was no longer his own. For a moment he wanted to hurl it away, but something inside him stopped him. The emblem was a chain, yet it was also the only thing keeping him anchored in this strange place. The door opened quietly, and the silver-marked woman entered. She carried a bowl of fruit unlike any Ethan had seen, glowing softly with golden light. She placed it before him without a word. He looked at her with wary eyes. She met his gaze calmly. "You are changed," she said softly. Ethan frowned. I'm the same man I was yesterday," she shook her head. "No. Yesterday you were a wanderer searching for survival. Today you are part of us. You cannot see it yet, but you will." Her words lingered in his mind as he ate, the fruit sweet and warm, filling him with strength he had not felt in weeks. He realized his body no longer felt as weak and tired as It had when he first arrived. His muscles ached from the night, yet beneath that ache was a strange vigor, as though something inside him had awakened. Later that day, Ethan was taken outside into the fields. The suns burned hot and the strange crops shimmered under the light. The women moved gracefully among the plants, and when they saw him, they paused. Their eyes lingered on him, not with suspicion but with quiet recognition. Some bowed their heads slightly. Others smiled faintly, as if greeting someone important. Ethan's chest tightened. Only days ago he had been nothing more than a starving drifter, ignored by traders and turned away from work. Now these powerful alien women looked at him as if he mattered, as if his presence alone carried meaning. The landowner approached, his scaled skin glinting like metal. He studied Ethan with approving eyes. "You begin to understand," he rumbled. "This is no farm of soil. It is a farm of blood and future, and you are the plow that keeps it alive." Ethan clenched his fists. "I did not choose this." The landowner's gaze hardened. Few chosen ever do, yet the law binds tighter than choice. Do not waste your breath on refusal. You will see that this path gives more than it takes. The silver-marked woman stepped forward, placing herself between Ethan and the landowner. Her voice was calm but firm. "Do not speak to him like a slave. He is not soil to be commanded. He is seed to be honored." The landowner's eyes narrowed, but he said nothing, only turned and walked away with the weight of authority still in his stride. Ethan stared at the silver-marked woman. "Why do you defend me?" She looked at him for a long moment. "Because I see what you are becoming. You came here fighting, but already the women whisper your name with hope. You will see it soon. You will see yourself differently." Ethan shook his head, but her words followed him into the night. Days passed, and each day Ethan felt the change more deeply. His body grew stronger, his dreams filled with strange images of stars, fields, and children's laughter. At first he resisted, waking in cold sweat, but slowly he began to see the truth. The alien women were not using him with cruelty. They were clinging to him with desperation. Their people were fading, their future vanishing, and he was the thread that tied them to survival. The younger woman often came to him, her eyes full of questions she dared not ask aloud. Sometimes she would bring food, sometimes she would simply sit in silence. One evening she whispered, "Do you hate us?" Ethan stared at her, torn. He wanted to say yes, that he hated being trapped, that he hated the loss of his freedom. Yet when he looked at her eyes, he saw no malice, only fear of extinction. His words softened against his will. "No, I do not hate you." Her lips trembled with relief, and she left quickly before tears could fall. Ethan sat in silence, realizing how deeply the bond had already begun to grow. Each passing day shifted him further from the man he had been. He no longer thought only of himself, of hunger or survival. The women's voices, their hope, their fear, all pressed against him until he could not separate his fate from theirs. The transformation was not in his body alone. It was in his heart, in the way he looked at the alien faces around him and saw, not strangers but fragile lives depending on him. He had come seeking food and work, but now he had become something greater. By the end of the week, Ethan no longer saw himself as a wanderer. He was bound, yes, but he was also needed. For the first time in years, he felt more than survival. He felt purpose. The valley was quiet as night fell, the twin suns sinking below the horizon, leaving the sky painted in deep purple and silver. Ethan stood on the edge of the fields, the wind brushing against his face, carrying the faint scent of herbs and soil. He looked across the land that had once felt like a prison, yet now seemed bound to him in ways he could no longer deny. Behind him, the fortress glowed with soft crystal light. The alien women moved within its walls, their voices rising in gentle songs that carried through the air like a river of sound. Those songs were not of war or conquest. They were songs of survival, of hope, of beginnings yet to come. Ethan listened, his chest heavy but steady. The silver-marked woman approached quietly, her steps soundless across the earth. She stood beside him, her tall form outlined by the fading light. For a moment, they said nothing, watching the fields sway in the evening breeze. Then she spoke softly. "You are no longer what you were when you arrived. Do you see it now?" Ethan turned his eyes to her, his voice low. "I see more than I want to admit. I came here searching for work. I thought I would push a plow through dirt. Instead, I was pulled into something larger than me, something I cannot escape." Her gaze did not waver. "Do you wish to escape?" The question cut through him. He thought of the guards, the rituals, the nights that had bound him tighter than chains. But he also thought of the younger woman's trembling voice when she asked if he hated them, of the way their eyes looked at him with hope rather than cruelty. He thought of the children they feared they would never see and how his presence alone gave them a chance. "No," he said finally, his voice firm. "I do not wish to escape." The silver-marked woman's lips curved into the faintest smile. "Then you have already chosen." Ethan turned back to the fields. The soil stretched far, and the strange crops shimmered like silver fire under the stars. He felt a strange connection to it all, as though the land itself had accepted him. His hunger, his despair, his wandering, they had led him here. And here he had become something he had never expected. Later that night, the landowner gathered the clan in the great hall. The crystal lights burned bright, and the women filled the chamber, their eyes glowing in unison. Ethan was brought forward, the emblem placed once again against his chest. The landowner's voice thundered through the hall. "By law, by blood, by survival itself, the human is bound to us. He is no longer a wanderer. He is part of the clan. He carries our future." The women bowed their heads together, their voices rising in a chant that filled the hall with sound that shook the stone. Ethan stood among them, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. He did not feel like prey now. He felt like something else, something new. The younger woman stepped forward and placed her hand on his arm, her eyes bright with both fear and joy. "You will not stand alone," she whispered. "We are with you." The silver-marked woman joined her, her voice calm and steady. "You came to us as a man seeking survival. You remain with us as a man who gives survival. That is your place now." Ethan looked around the hall at the women who had once filled him with fear. Now he saw not chains but threads of connection, each one binding him tighter into their world. The emblem pulsed with light against his chest, but he no longer resisted. He accepted it, feeling its rhythm merge with his own heartbeat. When the chanting faded, silence filled the hall. The landowner's voice broke it at last. "The old has ended. The new begins tonight." The women rose together, and Ethan felt their eyes on him, not as a stranger, not as a prisoner, but as something greater. His old life, the hunger and wandering, had been buried in these fields. What stood now was a man bound to a future he could not have imagined. As dawn rose the next morning, Ethan walked into the fields once more. The suns painted the land in fire and gold. The women followed behind him, their voices carrying soft songs that mingled with the wind. He looked across the endless soil, and for the first time in years, he did not feel lost. He had come here thinking he was hired to plow fields. Instead, he had been chosen to plow life itself. The weight of that truth was heavy, but it was no longer unbearable. It was purpose. It was belonging. The new beginning had come, and Ethan stepped into it with steady steps, knowing his fate was now tied forever to the future of this alien clan.